education. The COVID pandemic has forever changed the way in which universities operate, and there's a new phrase which is being touted, something called blended learning. But says Adam Habib, the outgoing Vice-Chancellor at the University of the Witwatersrand, anecdotal evidence is suggesting that students are performing better in the online environment than face-to-face. He joins me now on Friday lunchtime. Professor Habib, good afternoon to you. Before we even talk about that, you addressed a webinar recently and your big concern was money. You said as COVID-19 continues to impact the economy, the state doesn't have the money, and if the state doesn't have the money, it's going to impact on future subsidies for universities. How much trouble are we in?
Well, I don't think we're in trouble immediately, but I think we're going to be in trouble within the year or within the next 24 months. 90% of the university's income comes from fees, and it comes from university subsidy. If the economy is in a crisis, and if there is a significant reduction not only in GDP but tax receipts, it means government will have less money to give to universities in the form of subsidy. And when that happens, depending how deep the cuts are, universities are going to be in serious trouble. In addition to that, people are losing jobs. 60% of the students at Wits are missing middle students. They are the children of the middle classes. And effectively, those are the people who will likely lose jobs if there's a major contraction in GDP. So 90% of the university's income streams are under threat. And this is something that we better start talking about. If you look at places like the UK and US, there are massive cuts being undertaken at universities. And I think this is something that we should be preparing for and thinking about.
It's all very well then to talk about this notion of blended education. It sounds good. It is obviously the future, but it's pointless unless we can pay for it.
Absolutely. And I do think that some of the infrastructure is already in play. So we've been investing in places like Wits, UCT, Stellenbosch, Pretoria, UJ for many years now in the IT infrastructure. And more generically in the country, we've got the IT infrastructure. The real question is how do we underwrite the costs for it? So instead of spending enormous amounts of money on building huge lecture rooms, we probably need to put an enormous amount of money into connectivity so that students can access the teaching program in a more effective way. But blended learning is precisely that, blended. It means that we're not going to be fully online. It means we're going to have to navigate between parts of our academic program being online and other parts being face-to-face. And it's that movement between online and face-to-face that I think is going to define the future of higher education.
And all of this, Professor Habib, is predicated on leadership, and you say that what South Africa needs now is for President Ramaphosa to lead with authority. The problem, you say, in South Africa is that we have a paralyzing lack of trust and lack of execution capacity. So we're stuck in the mud, aren't we?
We are. I mean, I am really worried about the state's execution capacity. For 2 decades, we've been making really inappropriate appointments in the university sector. We have had cadre deployment. We've been appointing people without the skill sets. And now, with the best of intentions, we're just incapable of executing anything. We decided to do food parcels, and half of the food parcels get stolen. We decided to effectively do social support grants, and much of that we incapacitated. We just can't deliver. There is capacity. Much of that capacity is in the private sector. But what you require is deep trust between the private sector and the public sector if you're going to build the social pact that Cyril Ramaphosa has been speaking about. And that deep trust does not exist in South African society. And that's our huge challenge.
Professor Adam Habib is the outgoing VC at the University of the Witwatersrand.